It's the morning drive with me, Tim Elliott. We're talking real estate for the next, it'll be around about 45 minutes, I think. I hope you've been enjoying the bouncy, bubbly music that's been going on. We've sorted out, I think, ironed out our wrinkles this morning. That's probably the best way to put it. Mario Volpi is here. He's Senior VP Investment Advisory at Allegiance Real Estate. Mario, as always, it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much for coming in once again.
Thanks, Tim. I nearly called you Craig then, which is my podcast man.
I was going to say, I would. The weird thing is, I'd probably answer to it, and it wouldn't matter.
Good morning, Tim.
Nice to see you. Look, I'm going to preempt everything because, as is your, it's a necessity in your life for you, I think, to laud and appreciate Chelsea Football Club.
Oh wow. We're going straight there.
So I'm going straight there because I know you're going to bring them in at some point. So I'm preempting.
Okay, so for the listeners as well, I have to be humble. We were humbled by Sunderland last weekend, despite the fact we played really, really well against Ajax and thought we came into the game with amazing positivity, but we were rubbish, definitely rubbish, and they definitely deserved the 3 points. Obviously now Arsenal's starting to push away a little bit, which is a bit annoying. But still, this weekend, Saturday evening, we do have the arch enemy, which is obviously Tottenham Hotspur. And on the subject of that game, I'd like to just say anybody that is in the Barsha Heights area, in the Grand Millennium Hotel specifically, and the Belgian Beer Cafe, we are bringing an ex-Chelsea legend, or an ex-Chelsea player, should I say, in the form of Paul Cannaville. Why he's interesting is because he played in the mid-'80s, and he was the first black player to play for Chelsea, and suffered terrible racism during that time. And I have to add, from the Chelsea crowd as well as from others. He also, unfortunately, got cancer. He had a drug addiction, all of which are explained brilliantly in his book Black and Blue, which I think is an amazing title. It won a lot of awards as a sports book, but it's basically talking about his life growing up, never knowing his father. He's from Jamaican background, etc. And we're really thrilled to have him. He's going to do a meet and greet at the Belgian Beer Cafe, and then we're going to have some sort of signed stuff that we'll sort of raffle off, and then watch the game together, which hopefully, the last time we brought a Chelsea legend, which was John Obi Mikel, we were playing Man City, we actually lost that game, so I really hope that we're going to bounce back and get our 3 points.
I hope so. Well, I think at the moment, Thomas Frank in charge of Tottenham Hotspur. This has turned into a sports segment,
yes,
kind of rapidly as well. But look, and I think that's it's a harrowing story in so many ways, but also such a positive story. Yeah, positive message ultimately.
Definitely. I mean, he's 63 years of age now, and he looks very fit. He works at Stamford Bridge at the home games. He does these talks, etc. And obviously his foundation is all for underprivileged children, and also for other charities. So it's all for a good cause as well. So if you are in the area, do come on down. There's no charge to come in. It's obviously a bar, and come and support Chelsea. Hopefully, take the 3 points.
And come and have a chat with Mario. On to your main area. Well, I don't know, maybe a secondary area of expertise. I'm not sure. Clearly, you're the man to go to for a real estate opinion, and that's really what I'd like to do before we get to some of the topics that we need to discuss. But this was a Gulf News headline. Okay, at the end of last week, Dubai rent spikes to ease as new tenants get more options. Buyers are eyeing flats, apartments in the UAE. So, number of things in this article, but it's backed up by, I think, real data. ValueStrat Q3 2025 report data. Also Better Homes, who are obviously very well known. Their reports really point to a phase of steady selective growth, hopefully that's kind of beneficial for renters and a bit more measured for investors. Let me put a few points to you, Mario. The first thing that jumps out to me is after months of relentless rent hikes in Dubai, in the UAE really, and we've all been going through this, rental prices finally stabilising is kind of a mini headline. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it really depends on the landlord's situation. When when a property remains empty, it actually costs the landlord because he's still having to pay service charges and there is no income there. He may have a mortgage, in which case, obviously, there's expenditure there as well. So if a property doesn't rent as quickly as perhaps he had hoped, it is then literally down to pricing. Now, when we come to price properties, we are there as agents to advise and to give good suggestions to what landlords and indeed sellers should market their properties at. But dare I say, 9 times out of 10, they have their own ideas. And that's based on either, dare I say, greed or just necessity. And they tell us what they want. Now, depending on the type of agent, he will either accept or not, or advise, say, we can try it at that price. But if things don't rent, then they have to come down. And I think that's what's actually happening, is that rather than rents are actually coming down, I think what's happening is that people are putting properties on the market at unrealistic prices, finding that they're not going, and not renting, and indeed even sales as well, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
But if we're talking about rentals specifically, someone will come and view it, and then you never hear of them. Agents should try to always get feedback to the landlord to then say, look, I told you this is what the other people are saying, the real tenants are saying, not just me. And again, depending on the situation, the landlord will then start to drop the price, or what he or she might want to do is, rather than necessarily move the price, offer more checks, multiple payment systems. This business of paying in 1 or 2 checks is totally alien to me. I really don't understand why people will insist on it. We don't get paid a year up front, we get paid monthly. But I do understand the risks involved when you have a tenant who may default. So I do see it from both sides, but there should be a better system in place. There are some platforms now that can allow the tenant to pay in 12 checks, but they then pay 1 or 2 checks to the landlords. But of course, again, that comes at a cost.
Yeah.
So I do really think that it depends on the situation of the landlord as to why prices might be coming down. Obviously, if it doesn't rent, they have to drop it. But I think it's coming from a higher base rather than, dare I say, rents are actually coming down. I've not really seen that on a broader scale, but I do see what I've just described now.
I mean, the data shows rents across Dubai. This is ValueStrat data. Rents across where we are now rose 2.1% in Q3, as opposed to 5.5% in Q2. So you can see
there's a slowdown there, for sure.
There is a slowdown.
But you see, that comes out in figures. What I'm seeing is still prices going up, which effectively they have. They've gone up 2.odd%.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm saying it's perhaps more anecdotal, but the slowdown, I think, is tangible, and it has to be. Otherwise you're pricing things out and people can't then just move. And then you have all the cheaper areas all full and perhaps the more expensive areas empty, and that's not how you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Better Homes are quoted in this article as well. Some of their data is used. Apartment transactions hitting 93 billion dirhams in Q3, the highest ever recorded. Volumes up 22%. Off-plan sales 35% up quarter on quarter as well. So, it's the boats are bobbing nicely, I guess.
Yeah, they are. Look, the market is 70% off-plan driven anyway.
Yes.
And of course, all these developers do their best to try and sell out as quickly as possible. Now, when you consider that a developer actually makes more money when they develop a vertical tower rather than a villa community.
Sure.
Despite the fact that there is a, dare I say, shortage of villas and townhouses, generally speaking, based on the number of sort of families coming here. So it's not surprising that apartment sales, are hitting these numbers because there's obviously more of them. And with either better payment plans or some incentives, etc., you will see that developers are really pushing that, and if the majority of them are selling apartments, that's why you get these numbers.
Also, Dubai's growth continues, doesn't it? We see that, and apartments are naturally attractive. Here's something I'm not sure you'll agree with. The third point that kind of leaps out of this Gulf News article is the villa market cooling. 2 years of exceptional growth. Villa and townhouse sales dipped 30% in Q3. Natural recalibration?
Possibly. prices tend to go up very quickly in Dubai, and they tend to go down quite slowly when it's going the other way. I'm wondering whether it's again, 30% is a large break, if you like. I'm not really seeing it, to be honest with you. But then they're talking about the whole market. All different companies deal with different areas. Some will deal with the whole of Dubai, others will just deal with certain villa communities. I mean, I remember there was one company that only ever did villas and didn't do apartments. Then, of course, they had to branch out into apartments. They only did sales and didn't do rentals, and now they do rentals. So people evolve anyway. So for us, I can say that there is still demand for villas, but of course, and townhouses. But these are at prices that then the buyer perceives to be value. So I had one of my clients who bought something from me last year messaged me last night, and he saw an advert for Damac Islands, which are advertising 4-bedroom townhouses in phase 2, starting at 2.75 million. Now, he sort of sent me a message saying that surely this can't be true, right? Because he's thinking, villas and townhouses are expensive, especially a 4-bedroom one.
Sure.
And when you consider that price, if you are lucky, will get, when I say you're lucky, I'm talking about having the opportunity to buy what I'm about to say, will only get you a 1-bedroom in Palm Jebel Ali. Because they're launching sort of 1-bedroom, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5-bedroom apartments for the first time in Jebel Ali. Before it was villas. So 2.75 4-bed townhouse, 2.8 in fact, 1-bedroom apartment in Palm Jebel Ali. One is Dubai Land, near to the E611. Second phase, first phase, very good. What do you do? What do you buy? So again, there's so much choice. But I had to say to him, no, it is correct. They do start at 2.75. I'm sure those will probably go very quickly, and then they'll start creeping in above the 3 million. But it goes to show that you do get a lot more bang for your buck when you go inland.
Yeah.
Obviously, Palm Jebel Ali's got the sea. We'll have sea views. Damac Islands, well, just for the name of it, they're creating lagoons, and there will be water there as well. So actually, you will have a nice view and great communities as Damac does build. But what do you go for? And he's so confused now because every 5 minutes there's something that's better than it was 5 minutes ago. Yeah. And my advice to anybody listening on that is, look, just if it ticks the boxes, just go for it. Because otherwise, all that will happen is that you end up not buying, you end up kicking yourself because 6 months pass and the prices that you're looking at now are higher than they were 6 months ago. And it's like trying to catch a moving knife. It's really, really difficult. But if you do happen to grab the handle and not the blade,
let's hope.
Just hold on to it and be happy, because the way the market is going, and certainly seems to be in the foreseeable future, is that it's a great investment, and Dubai is always evolving for the betterment of investors, should I say. And of course, with everything that's happening in Europe and America and UK, whatever, they're all looking at us now.
Yeah, it's no time like the present. Shafat texts in, Mario, the fact that you're a Chelsea fan has disappointed me.
Oh, no.
To that
I've lost a listener.
Not yet. I think you can help him. To that end, branded residences like Damac Chelsea, are they worth it? I feel like more and more agents are offering me branded style residences, but they don't appeal to me. We'll come back and answer that in a moment, because we're going to take a break in a second. But I think I want to talk to you a little bit about branded residences, because I know it's something you've been talking about on your podcast as well. So we'll come to that. Ariana's texted in as well, and there's Carl here. No question about real estate. Mario's glasses. Where are they?
Oh, okay. Well, shall I put them on? Is this for Carl?
Carl, thank you very much for that.
These are different ones.
Do you want to do a grand reveal? I have no drum roll, so I'll just
Here we
do
go.
that on the desk for you.
How about that?
Fantastic. I tell you. If we were in the time of Highwayman and Roberts and Dick Turpin and all those times, you would cut a dash.
Well, I do have several, and they're all different colours. It's a bit like my watches, actually. I sort of try and match them with the tie. I don't have green ones, unfortunately, so that's why I had to just go for normal black ones.
I like it. Tell you what, let's keep going. So let's answer Shafat's question and talk a little bit about branded residences. Let me just bring up some notes that I made. I know this is something you've been talking about. an attraction or an association with a brand. It's a twist on the whole branded sector. I know there's something you've been looking at, but just before we get to that, are they worth it? Shafat's asking.
Well, I suppose the answer to that is yes, they are, because statistically they've shown that when you come to resell the property, they actually get more money than non-branded residences, assuming everything else remains the same. It is something that you do associate with 100%, and that's why I thought actually that Damac were very, very what's the word I'm looking for? They went out on a limb to actually brand the maritime city, the Chelsea residences.
Yeah.
Because I think we touched upon this before. You know, there are people that obviously hate Chelsea and will not look at that because football's very tribal. We know this.
Sure.
And that association will put some people off. So from a sporting point of view, I think they took a risk. Having said that, the market's so great, and there are so many Chelsea fans anyway, and there'll be people that have got nothing to do with football. They just like the actual project.
I think there's another side to that. If I can cut in just very briefly, I think for you and I, for example, we're from a relatively similar area, the southeast of England, for example, and you understand Chelsea. It's part of you support where you're from in football terms, and it is very tribal. But I think for people outside looking in, and that's really the majority of Dubai, looking in at the Premier League, looking at football as a sport and enjoying it just as a sport, there's a far less tribal aspect to that. And I think it's more of it's aspirational, it's a success brand.
Yeah, definitely. And when you consider that, obviously, whether we were lucky or not, we are the first winners of the World Club Cup, which gives us the right to call us the world champions. I mean, you laugh, but that is a tag that actually
it is true.
Damac can pin their hat on.
Sure.
And say that these are world champions, so therefore they are much higher in the estimation of other people. And there are lots of fly-by-night people who just glory hunters. I remember sort of when Man United were doing great, everyone's a Man United fan, or when Liverpool, etc. So especially as kids growing up, you tend to want to support a team that's doing really well, and not the other way around. So I think that's definitely helped. The fact that Chelsea's won absolutely every single trophy that is allowed to be won, first club to do that. That association, I think, has helped brand things like the Chelsea residences. But moving away just from Chelsea, if we just talk about branded residences, that association just, and it's a global thing as well. You've got to look at it. These brands are, you've got automotive brands like Mercedes, Bugatti, watches like Jacob & Co., and then of course Armani and other sort of haute couture. And I mentioned, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, that Louis Vuitton will one day come on. Well, they kind of have already, because there is a development in Jumeirah Islands, beg your pardon, near to the Bulgari. Chevron Blanc. I mean, this is all owned by MVLH, I think it's called, which is part of the Louis Vuitton group. So it doesn't actually, it's not branded Louis Vuitton, but they are in the background.
Yeah.
So I think in answer to his question, if you're willing to pay that little bit higher premium, because obviously they are a little bit more expensive, but when you come to resale, as long as everyone else is of the same ilk, what seems to be showing is that you are actually able to get that much more money. And of course, when something is branded, there's always that feeling of luxury attached to it as well. And that helps selling it either in the first time through the developer or in secondary market when you come to selling it on.
Okay. Tell me about something that you've been looking at recently, the Orlinsky Realty Group. Now, this is a really unusual kind of branded residence thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'd never heard of this chap before. He's apparently a French modern artist. And although we don't have much information as such, seemingly they've joined together with this other company, and they're going to be building where art is part of the structure. Now, quite what that means, I don't know. A column's going to be made out of statues, I don't know, but whatever art is going to be put in there, and I'm not necessarily just talking about a painting on a wall. It's going to be numbered. It's going to be authored, limited edition. So that will also add something to it. When we look at the Sistine Chapel, for example, in the Vatican, I mean, there's a branded residence in itself. You've got the ceiling painted by Michelangelo Buonarroti. And there you go. Who wouldn't want to have a fresco on the ceiling of that?
Well, that's true, but you need to be able to see it. I've been to the Sistine Chapel. It's really dark. Because there's no light, very little light in there.
But, really? I was there in May. I mean, they've done a lot of restoration work over the years. For me, my comment was it's just absolutely rammed with people. And, yes, you can stay in the Sistine Chapel and sit on the benches as one becomes available and just kind of look up. But they do tend to usher you through. So I didn't find it dark. But anyway, going back to this particular gentleman, it's a first. And I think that's where Dubai likes to sort of portray itself, that the first of its kind, something different. Will it appeal to everybody? Probably not. I personally don't like modern art. I'm much more into Renaissance art, like I was saying. And therefore the Cubists, the Picassos, just these splodges of paint on a canvas. I mean, my 4-year-old granddaughter can do that, So I just don't see it. But anyway,
it's not for you.
It's not for me, and that's what I'm saying. It'll come to market. People will be curious. They'll come and see, and it will appeal to some people depending on the price point, obviously. But it will be one of the first. And like I say, how they sort of showcase these works of art and how they're going to incorporate them within the fabric of the building will remain to be seen. Really.
It's interesting, the line that they describe the project: sculpted, not designed, transforming architecture into emotion and property, into culture. I mean, I don't know how that's going to go. Also, note to self: do not buy Jackson Pollock for Mario for his birthday.
No,
not your thing.
Well, you can buy it, but I'll sell it on. I won't keep it.
No emotion whatsoever on this. Let me ask you about some real estate numbers for last week. This is something I know you've been talking about on your podcast. The figures and value of transactions. And also, I guess it's the most expensive sales deals as well. Now, am I right with this figure, Mario? 14.64 billion dirhams worth of transactions last week. So that's, a couple of weeks ago. That's the 13th to the 17th of October. 4,300 sales. I mean, the figures are mind-numbingly mind-blowing.
Yeah, these figures come from the land department first and foremost.
Yeah.
So they're not coming from companies like Better Homes or any other companies that report upon. So they are extremely high, and just goes to show exactly what is going on. Transparency is getting better and better at the land department. I remember when I first came here in 2008, you just got nothing out of them at all. It was all very much guesswork, including, dare I say, population. Population also has got a little bit better from the statistics point of view, but even that, I think we could do better in understanding, perhaps on a monthly basis. I heard one commentator saying that there was like 1,000 people a day coming to Dubai. I find that quite incredible. But you'd never know whether it's true or not. So these numbers, they're backed up by transfers. They're backed up by, obviously, SPAs, which is sale and purchase agreements. Once the buyer has paid the 4% to the land department and obviously the 20% to the developer. And interestingly, I can't remember what the numbers were, but also the mortgage numbers were there as well, which also shows that, real, what I call end users, because it tends to be end users that are buying with mortgages, those numbers were very, very healthy too. So, yeah, they are mind-numbingly high, but they wouldn't be able to report them if they weren't true.
No, well, this is the point. The mortgage sales number is 305 billion dirhams for that same period, so 13 to 17.
Yeah, it's only a week.
October.
I mean,
that's what got me.
It's yeah, it's very high. But
It's remarkable.
You've got to remember that there are. Well, let's throw another estimated number out there. This is banded around a while. It's estimated. I say it's estimated. Apparently, there's sort of 30,000 plus real estate brokers, and I say 30,000 plus because there's probably around 30,000 real estate brokers that are registered. There's probably another, either same number or even double that are unregistered. So I mean, there's talk of being 100,000 brokers out into the marketplace. And of course, there are some companies with one broker, the sole proprietor.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are others, much bigger companies that have 200, 300, 400, 500 agents, whatever. So it's difficult to quantify. But what I can say is that there are thousands of companies. There are probably close to 100,000 people trying to do the same thing that you and I are trying to do, let's say, if we're both agents.
Yeah.
The competition is very, very high. Not everyone is a good agent, I hasten to add. In fact, I would wager that the majority are not good agents, because I think the entry level to become a broker should be regulated even more. And I don't just mean by an exam, which can easily be done by someone else, because often it's done online now. So.
Okay, so what would you do to increase broker regulation? What specifically do you think could happen?
Well, obviously the exam is one thing, but I actually think, and this takes me back to when I tried to enter the National Association of Estate Agents, back 100 years, as it were, in England.
Victorian times?
Yeah, something like that.
Kids are up chimneys, all that.
Correct, top hats and sort of horse-drawn carriages.
They were good days.
Anyway, to actually just be part of the National Association of Estate Agent, I had to have an interview. So there were, if I remember rightly, there was 2 or 3 people behind a table. Very, very intimidating. You come in, you sit down. The chair is nowhere near the table. So literally you're being looked at, and they fire questions at you, and that could be a way for the Land Department to really sort, dare I say, the wheat from the chaff. However, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of manpower,
Sure.
And I do understand why they probably wouldn't do it. But that's just something that's come off from the top of my head as to how you could maybe make it a little bit more personal. And the person can't cheat then. You can't get on his phone, can't get on ChatGPT, you can't get somebody else to do the exam for you. Okay, it's a bit like you asking me questions. I have some notes, but of course you've thrown something at me that we did 2 weeks ago, which I don't have in front of me. So you either have it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
And I think that would then be something that would stop just the fly-by-nights coming in, who think real estate is so easy. They don't consider all the stresses that are involved as well.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's kind of relatively straightforward to, find yourself a position, because very often these are commission-only positions, and it is a case of, give it a go, I think, in a lot of ways. And there is no substitute, I think, for local knowledge. I've rented places over the years, and I've kind of thought, I know a lot more about this area because I've lived here than you do,
Correct.
and you're going to make money from it. And
There's that resentment as well, isn't there? In some respects.
some ways, yeah. I think a good broker is worth their weight. I really do, and I believe that. I think it's very important. I think it's important not to tar people with that one brush.
No,
obviously.
sure. There are many, many good brokers, of course. But
there are people who really don't know from their elbow.
It's true, and I think also because companies are so desperate to employ more and more agents, because the market is so rapid, so fast-paced, and a lot of it, the training, there are training programs, as I'm sure some companies will offer, but many, it's, you'll learn on the job. And of course, they make so many mistakes, and then the other person gets disillusioned. But recently, I was looking for something, and just the basics of answering your phone is beyond. And the ones that do call back, or the ones that do answer, you think, okay, already I'm thinking this person is better than the other one, who never even bothered to pick up. But that's also testimony of how we live today. We're in that sort of now society where you click your fingers, you want everything now. And so when I'm making a call, I'm expecting someone to answer the phone. I'm forgetting that they could be with a client, they could be driving, they could be doing all sorts of things. But in your mind, they're rubbish because they didn't pick up the phone.
Yeah, that's right.
But agents, unfortunately, I'm going to say it, are to a penny. The good ones not. So when you see another advert that's similar, you just make that call and hopefully get through. But honestly speaking, I think that the way the market is right now, there should be some more regulation. There should be some more hoops to get through, let's put it that way, to actually then get that license, because then that license will really, really mean something.
I'm doing the maths in my head at the moment. So if it is as many as 100,000,
I mean, it's unknown. That's just a guess.
It is unknown.
Yeah.
assuming that if the population is 4 million, that's a broker for every 40 people. Am I right with my maths? I think I am right with my maths. Amazingly, that's a pretty popular position to hold, isn't it?
Well, that's probably also why so many people, also get called in terms of whether they thought about real estate or not. But I mean, not just real estate. I mean, you get called by credit card companies, Do, Etisalat, kind of all these call centers. They're all at it, and it's a real problem because on one hand, if I've got my estate agent's hat on, with that many companies, unless you have a brand name, and there are good agents working for companies that perhaps are not well known or not known at all, how else do you reach out to people? So it is a, dare I say, a necessary evil to make these sort of sales calls. But of course, people get annoyed very quickly, and tell you so on the phone. I can assure you.
There you get short thrift, don't you? Ariana's text in for you. Hello, Tim and Mario. Hi, Ariana. My brother's moving to Dubai from London next month. He wants to find a neighbourhood to move to. Single guy. I live in JVC with my family, says Ariana. Where's good for him to look? And what do you recommend he does before he buys a home?
Interesting. Such a loaded question, but let's start with living. I guess she's talking about renting to start off with.
I imagine so.
So if it's a single guy, look, I assume he wants to be where there are facilities, where there is action. I mean, he's probably got the choice of two areas. One would be potentially downtown. I mean, anything I'm saying now, unfortunately, is going to be expensive because where you have facilities, where you have action, where you have bars, where you have restaurants, where you have hotels, all these things are going to be pricey. But yeah. I would say perhaps do your research, go on to the property portals and look at maybe downtown, perhaps Business Bay, although downtown might be better. And of course, downtown, you've got DIFC next door, so you've got some nice fancy restaurants there, good for business. The other area would be obviously Dubai Marina, and next to Dubai Marina would be obviously JBR. So, lots of families there as well, but lots of singles. If his budget doesn't necessarily stretch to JBR or Marina, then he can just go the other side of Sheikh Zayed Road, which is JLT, which also has some very, very good sort of what I call niche restaurants as well, good places to meet. So that would definitely would be an area that I would consider. Now, when it comes to buying, I assume again he would be buying to live in it.
Let's take that as the example. Yeah.
So then you're looking at the secondary market. Because anything off plan is not going to be ready for another 2, 3, 4 years. Although there could be one or two properties that are still available from property launches that have happened a while ago. But generally speaking, there'll probably be lower floors with no views, that kind of things, because the better ones tend to go quickly. So it'll be secondary market. But again, if he's lived in an area for rent, then that particular area, assuming he likes it, would probably be where he would end up buying as well. Because if he's made friends in a certain area, then you've got to consider, work. Where is work? Commuting? Is it on the metro? Or does he have a car? In which case he will just drive there. Metro's expanding. Etihad Rail is bringing all the Emirates together. So from an infrastructure point of view, this is helping real estate. But unfortunately for him, it means that property prices probably will still go up because when you add in all this extra infrastructure and facilities, prices are not going to go down. However, there is this talk of I say stabilization. I welcome any pause in the market, to be honest with you, because you cannot just have a marketplace that just keep going up and up and up. It's not healthy. So there could be periods of stability. However, I don't really see that happening. Certainly not in this quarter, and most likely not in next quarter either. The first potential pause for breath comes in the summer, when obviously everything empties out. But if this summer is anything to go by for future summers, with better deals from aircrafts, from hospitality and hotels, more and more people are actually looking at Dubai in July and August, which seems madness for us because we're suffering for it. But of course, we're wearing suits, we're wearing shirts, they're wearing t-shirts and flip-flops type of thing, and shorts. So, maybe it's a little bit more bearable. But of course, they can go to the malls, which are, destinations of entertainment, and of course, lovely air conditioned. So, Dubai is catering really for year-round, dare I say, activities, where the summer months are more inside, obviously. And now, the weather's amazing. For the first time last night, I have my daughter and my son-in-law in for holidays this week, and we went and sat outside. So for me, it's the first time I've been able to do that for a little while.
Well, it is outdoor living at the moment, isn't it? That's the great thing about this time of year. We've got 3 or 4 months. We're at the start of this.
Amazing.
3 or 4 months of this is great. But I think it's increasingly true, and the more people you talk to in whatever industry, it doesn't matter. Dubai is now a 12-month season, and it used to be, not that long ago, in living memory, the summer would be kind of a shutdown season. Not like that now.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily describe it ever as a shutdown, but you certainly felt that a lot of people have gone away.
People are away. The roads
the roads were more empty, and you could get about a bit. You could find parking spaces in the malls without having to go to the top floor or something. So that's a barometer in itself. When you go to the mall, finding a parking space now
that's a really good barometer. Actually.
It is.
It's a bit like the Big Mac index in some ways. It's a Dubai equivalent, isn't it? Let me ask you. We've got 10 minutes or 8 minutes or so. Article from Arabian Business outlining 6 property trends. I know you've looked at this as well. So I'm wondering if we can kind of have a wander through this. It's really to define the property market in 2025, and what's been driving Dubai's property boom. So it begins with land department figures. Dubai attracting something like 95,000 investors in the first 6 months of the year. Growth over last year, I would intimate that's the place to start with.
No, definitely. 95,000 investors, that's really good. That was only for the first 6 months, as you say. That was up 22% on the year. But what was interesting is that 45% of those people were actually UAE residents. So 55 then were foreign investors. And 261.1 billion dirhams worth of transactions were actually concluded. This also was a 36.4% increase from last year, which obviously cements Dubai as a growing property market globally. So looking at these trends, one of them is suburban living. That's definitely gaining momentum now, obviously due to some rising rents. Which obviously they are still going up despite the fact that they started to cool down. So central areas like downtown Dubai Marina are driving individuals and like I was saying to the listener there, and families to slightly outer zones such as JVC, Dubai South, and Dubai Silicon Awareness. Another trend that developers are dealing with is wellness and lifestyle. This is becoming, dare I say, this is actually becoming standard. Before it used to be an add-on. Now people are insisting on that. So focused spaces, hydrotherapy pools, meditation areas, Pilates, yoga studios, all these kind of things.
There are all kinds of things there. These are not necessarily gimmicks. There's an apartment block. I was in hospital last year, and out of the window there's an apartment block with jacuzzis, whirlpools on each balcony. And it was nearly finished at that point. And my son came to visit me, and he's 22 years old. He's like, I want one of those places. That's going to be my first apartment. I'm thinking, well, you need to do some work first, son. But anyway, it didn't seem unusual to me to see that, I think is the point.
Yeah, like I say, these things when they first come off, they are unusual. But then other developers copy them. Jacuzzis on balconies or sort of terraces is not that uncommon. But sort of having your own sort of plunge pool, and when I call it a pool, it's like a bath, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's not somewhere you can swim in it. But on a hot day, if you keep it chilled, have a nice glass of something, and you'll be able to just relax on your balcony. And the beauty here is everybody can do it. It's not just for the penthouses. So that's very, very good. Another thing is sustainability. That's also becoming more important. Environmental credentials are now coming to the fore when making these decisions to buy, especially for end users. So you will find that developers are looking at doing sort of more green buildings, if I can put it that way, but it is still expensive for them. So it's slowly coming in. Sort of reflective glass, that kind of thing that keeps, heat out of apartments, which means then that you're not using so much AC, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Green spaces. I mean, recently, Ashoba launched this 110-story building on Sheikh Zayed Road. I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago.
You did, yeah.
And on each certain, I think there's four sort of sky parks there. So lots of greenery. Pet-friendly areas as well. This is another thing. So all of these things are coming in. One of the other thing is mixed-use living. They're reshaping urban designs. Developers are increasingly building vertical villages. Back to this particular tower, for example, where they combine residences, perhaps with co-working spaces. There are developers that are building just offices right next door to residential parts, so you don't have to go very far, or areas where literally you can work from home, not necessarily in your apartment.
Okay.
So co-working spaces is very important. I've even had some where they've put podcast studios, because influencers and this like that, they want to do this. So these are sort of all extra ones. And lastly, I want to talk about technology. That's definitely driving the search and investment. So I guess from AI or tokenization, technology is at the center of how we buy and manage homes. Smart platforms now offer predictive pricing tools, home tours, fractional ownership, and blockchain-based transactions. Now, this will allow non-residents to actually buy remotely. I mentioned that as well, where both buyer and seller can be out of the country and still be able to conduct, the transfer period.
And peace of mind as well. That's secure transaction.
No, absolutely, and it is all done, with the land department blessing. They've got these platforms. They've got these things that you can actually do it. I remember before you had to be present. Then obviously power of attorneys came in, and now obviously we have this. Yeah. So technology will definitely drive this as well.
I appreciate that. Those are all points well made. We need to just quickly go to one more text. Mario and Tim. This is also Mario, best name in the world, says Mario. So there you are. You're getting the compliments this morning.
Well, I'm very happy there's more than one Mario. Actually, I know of two Marios in the real estate world. I'm not sure whether the second one is still there, but he was around a long time. But I got interviewed by another Mario on a podcast, but he was German. And so
it's relatively easy to tell you apart.
Well, because Mario isn't a German name, so I'm not sure why he's called Mario. But anyway, then Mario Götze plays for Germany, or used to. So maybe he's named after a footballer. Anyway, so yeah, what does this Mario? What would he like?
I have a villa on Palm Jumeirah. Will this lose value when Palm Jebel Ali is fully built?
I don't think so. Palm Jumeirah is the OG. As some people call it. See, that's millennial talk there.
I love that. You are so down with the kids. Mario 1. Also, don't forget, by the way, in terms of Marios, there is also Super Mario. So
yes,
you're in good company.
Of course. So honestly, I don't think so. In fact, if anything, it probably will increase anyway, because Palm Jumeirah was a marvel of engineering. They call it the 8th wonder of the world. Palm Jebel Ali is now, I guess, the 9th wonder of the world, if you want to follow that trait. But generally speaking, no. If you're lucky enough to have a villa on the Palm, you've got your own beach. Yes, there have been some mistakes in how they built Palm Jumeirah, and those mistakes have been eradicated by building Palm Jebel Ali. For example, on Palm Jumeirah, there's only one road in and one road out. There's going to be 3 roads into Palm Jebel Ali, which is obviously double the size. But honestly speaking, I think this gentleman will be fine.
Carl, I hope you enjoyed Mario's glasses. I certainly did. Mario Volpi is the Senior VP of Investment Advisory at Allegiance Real Estate. That's his company. His actual allegiance is, of course, Chelsea Football Club. So
thank you.
I got the quote in at the end for you. Mario, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, as always.
Much appreciated. This is Mira Business FM.